Vencedor.
All right. Well, welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Hello to Insignificant Thoughts. Um, thank you for being here. I just want to quickly say that this podcast was inspired by our friend Gelmi. I was having a conversation with him, and it was a very interesting conversation, and it was part of what we're going to talk about today. Um, but always, I always like to start. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, thankfully.
Good.
New Year's was great.
How was it? How was it?
Just the usual. I usually just spend it with my family. I don't do anything crazy. I try not to. It's just, for me, it's literally just you're waking up to another day. I mean, it's
Mhm.
no surprise considering last podcast, if I'm not mistaken, I pretty much said I don't believe in resolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of tend to treat it. Not that I don't celebrate with people, but 9 times out of 10, I'm usually spending it with my family.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And your mom's birthday is on the 31st.
it's on the 31st, so I just don't.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it's a birthday and the end of the year, and what else? I try not to do too much that day.
What did you guys end up doing?
Literally nothing.
Yeah. Just
So
just talking,
Just
chilling.
hanging out. For a little bit. My brother came up actually from down the shore. He lives down the shore in South.
Oh, Manny came up?
Yeah, he
Oh,
came
that's
up for a
nice.
little bit. He was with us. We went to eat somewhere. What is it? Some steak, Longhorn Steakhouse. Never been.
Oh,
Or-
Longhorn
Pretty
Steakhouse?
cool, yeah. Pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Because when you think about steak, you think about like quality, and chains usually don't equal
Mm.
to quality.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But
for-
it wasn't bad.
for what it was, yeah, it wasn't bad. And granted, don't get me wrong, you can have way better steak, but
Mm-hmm.
for the price and the fact that it's readily accessible,
Yeah.
not bad. I'm not bad at all.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time. Yeah, for us it was pretty chill too. We were at our friends Kevin and Edgar's. Yeah, we just spent it with the friends there. Waiting until the New Year's, we play some games. Super chill, super nice.
Board games,
Yeah.
usual.
We played damn, I forget the name of that game. It's a game where basically you have to, I think you played it before, I don't know. But so there's a word that so let's say I'm the person that it's my turn. So I pick a card. The card has 5 words. And from that word, from number 1 to 5, I have to pick a number. So say I pick 2 and the word is
Oh, that's Dixit?
no.
No, it's not Dixit.
No, the word. Let's say the word. It's like TV, right?
Okay.
Now everybody has to write a word that will help me identify my word, which is TV. But you gotta try to be. I can't be too common because if somebody uses the same word, that word is now not being used for me. I can't see your word now because somebody else used it. You get what I'm saying?
So it's like
So you have
a
to be a little.
mixture of a couple things. It's giving me like what is it, chameleon vibes or whatever. So kind of, sort of, maybe
Yeah.
we're trying to guess it out, but not the whole lying portion and
Yeah.
deceiving people into
The
thinking
goal.
you're
Everybody's
actually,
in the game, right? So everybody's working together
Uh-huh.
to try to solve this kind of like puzzle of of what word it is. But everybody can't write the same word because now I'm not gonna be able to see what your word was, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be harder for me to identify what that word is.
I'm pretty sure I didn't play that game.
Okay, but that's a
Pretty-
good game.
I'm
It's a
pretty
good group
sure.
game.
Yeah.
I like it. And as you guys can see, also we're trying a new setup today. I don't know. I wanted to feel comfortable, and I like the thought about being in a sofa,
On a couch.
in a couch, and just
Yeah, why not?
chilling.
Just get a green backdrop. Might as well just Photoshop the beach in
Yeah, we
there.
got to work with lighting and stuff. This is things that we'll get better with, and we'll buy better equipment and stuff eventually. But I love it.
I want a disco ball.
A little disco ball just coming out of
from
here.
just coming from the top.
As soon as the podcast begins, it just
It
comes
just drops down. Change it to some weird 80s theme. We'll be fine.
Yeah,
Imagine.
I would love it. I would love
An
it.
80s theme. An 80s theme podcast with a whole reflective floor or whatever they used to have back then.
That could be a
in
good podcast. Talk about the 80s.
Actually, yeah. Talking about any decade
Yeah.
and the differences. I was actually listening to something today that was interesting about generational differences and stuff like that.
What was it?
It was It was basically explaining the theory that society goes through these cycles, um, similar to everything else that seems to go through cycles as well. Like a lot of people say, for example, the fashion industry is a whole cycle. Well, with generational differences, it's the same exact thing. So we go through a period of crisis
Mhm.
where there's a specific author that states that bad times breed good men or something along that line.
Mhm.
Anyway, the generational differences usually revolve around there's some crisis, so these individuals do X, Y, Z, and ABC. Then there's like everyone's okay, and then everyone thinks about equality and things like that, and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Then so basically, crisis happens, things calm down, then things something else happens, and then all of a sudden, crisis happens all over again,
Mm.
and it makes different generations think different ways, but
Yeah.
that there are similarities between generations from previous cycles. Does that make any
It
sense?
kind of, yeah, it kind of like it's not always going to be the same, but it kind of, you'll see things that have happened in the past now happen in a different generation, but not exactly the same.
Exactly. Not
Yeah.
exactly. So it's
Mhm.
the whole concept is that generational differences exist,
Mhm.
but they basically are cyclical.
Mm.
Just like sociological differences, it's all cyclical.
Mhm.
It's no surprise to anyone that you can reasonably say that we've been worried, especially on this side of the planet here in the US. We've been blessed with certain times of peace and whatnot. We're okay. We don't suffer greatly like other individuals in remote part of the planets do.
Mm.
I know that's kind of controversial to say, but it's true. Well, now we're entering a period of time where things seems to be, or things either seem to be or are destabilized. So I was listening to that just because this morning I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder how, for example, not even talking about Gen Z, we're talking about the kids that are growing up now. I think they're called Gen Alpha. How how everything that has happened now
Mhm.
going to forge their perception of the world and how they react to it.
Mm. And is there like any correlation to like how we are currently handling things with something that has happened in the past?
Yeah. So according to the concept, the millennial generation, if I'm not mistaken, is tasked with uh, not having grown up with complete conflict, but grown up with polarizing change
Mm.
and knowing that the world is dangerous as it
Mhm.
is. Um, and they tend to be a little more, or at least according to the theory, a little more cutthroat,
Right.
meaning this is what has to get done.
Mhm.
So according to the theory, is like we're at a point in time where our generation, the millennial generation,
Mhm.
is going to start having to show what we're made of, how we can deal with crises
Mm.
and things like that. So take with that as you will, but they are comparing to somewhat of the generation right before World War II, I believe, or something like that, where it's like you have to make tough decisions and things in order for things to continue to run.
Mm.
So the generation that's going to kind of go through things and through the other side, there's going to be change and great change, but until we get there, it's going to be a rough ride. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting because if you look at things from a socio-political and economic perspective, that's kind of the direction we're headed into. Which I tell people I don't fear because it's just the way of the world. The world changes consistently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel? But do you feel though that it's? I know it's being compared to like the times of like the World War II. But do you think that this is also similar to what was happening back in 2008?
According to that specific theory that I was just talking about, the catalyst was 2008. We
Okay.
already started the chaotic period.
Okay.
So the chaotic period, we enjoyed a time of prosperity between the 80s and the 90s. No one can deny that, especially if you were here in the U.S.
Mhm.
Record low crime rates, especially the early 2000s too.
Mhm.
Record low crime rates, jobs and stuff like that. 2008 hit, all of a sudden everything hit the fan. People started losing jobs. Our government started printing money. Things started happening globally. Globalization happened.
Mm.
Everyone has an iPhone now. Information travels at way faster than
Yeah.
it used to.
Yeah.
Um, so that theory states that 2008 was literally just a catalyst.
Okay.
So it's just the start of the events that are going to keep plaguing and forging our generation and forging the future ones as well.
Mm,
And how we deal with that obviously is going to determine how we end up on the other side. So
gotcha.
2022 is another, or 2020 was another example. That's another boom.
Yeah.
Now 2021, 2022, now we're in 2023 and it's like great. You know, world's kind of little upside down. Well, not here on this side of the planet, but
Mm-hmm.
but still the world is in a greater state of disarray in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I see very big similarities between now and 2008 in terms of unrest, but I also see huge differences, like
Mm.
huge differences.
Like, do you think that the differences is that we could possibly go into a war?
I don't really know. You see that's hard to say, hard to determine, and part of me wants to think, for example, that humanity has learned from their past experiences and observation and whatnot. But then when you really, 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 truly think about it, and you put everything into perspective, human nature, have we really learned? I mean, I don't know. We've already nuked ourselves like twice, once, whatever the case may be. Someone can give me the damn history lesson later, but
Mm-hmm.
um, potentially, yeah. Part of me wants to think, no, we've learned. But the other part of me is like, we're only on this planet for, if you're lucky, 80, 90 years.
Yep.
So how much time is that to enact change and to leave enough of an impact for future generations to realize, hey, we've created monsters, we've made mistakes
So
as a
what?
race.
How do you want to live your life? Is the way that you live your life? Is it meaningful to you to leave an impact on someone else's life? To, I guess, potentially have them live a better life, or is your motto just more of living for creating a good life for you and your family, and then just
I believe
hoping that everybody else follows?
I believe it has to be a healthy balance and mixture of both.
Okay.
Um, Denying that we're not interconnected is about the dumbest thing you can ever do. Um, and having a sense of, I've always spoken about hyper individualism, right?
Mhm.
That's a bad thing. But then on the other end, also, it's like, all right, being too much of a people person is also a bad thing.
Yeah.
You shortcut yourself. You don't draw boundaries. You let people walk all over you. That's not a good thing.
Mm.
So I believe a healthy mixture of both is absolutely necessary to not only feel happiness but feel fulfillment.
Mhm. I think
You
what's
know,
it's interesting, right? Because I know that a lot of times we're gonna in the podcast, I feel like we're gonna fall back into what our beliefs are and things are
oh
and
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that.
That because that
S-
drives your opinions and how you function
Yeah.
and how you direct yourself. You get what I'm saying? So it's like
Y-
I can understand why.
Yeah. So I say that to kind of mention that I feel like it could be as simple as just being good, like being nice and I don't know, just obviously us as humans, it's very easy to go and just judge anybody. It's just easy, right? But for me, my personality, it's also very easy to be nice to someone. And I feel like it takes so much effort to be rude and to go out of your way to create a mess
Mm-hmm. So
or
it takes,
discomfort.
yeah, it takes effort to fabricate discomfort. It takes effort to fabricate awkwardness. It takes effort to fabricate all those things
Yeah.
for those that are looking to do it with malicious purposes.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, those scenarios, discomfort and awkwardness form because of said scenario, not because if you're doing it without intention, that forms naturally because of your boundaries,
Yeah.
because of you. So let's randomly say, I'll give you a great example. Me and certain people, certain parts of my extended family do not get along,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
It's no surprise. I love each and every one of them dearly. They're cool people, but we're pretty much like oil and water. We don't mix, you
Mm.
know. And unfortunately, when you do have set interactions with people and you are nice, right, to
Yeah.
a certain extent, um, it doesn't translate. It doesn't always translate well.
I
So
get
it's
that.
like when a good example would be like earlier this year, I went and visited my family down in Florida with my mother, and if for those that know me, everyone knows I'm a sucker for awkward moments. I don't care about being awkward or discomforted, but you can almost like feel the thickness in the air
Mm.
between my mom and her side of the family and I.
Okay.
Like you could feel it, you can literally feel it. And that was not a result of a malicious interaction, but the result of just a general interaction where it's as different as water and oil,
Right.
you know. And it's and you can tell that it's not like the family doesn't like to interact, or it's not like they don't have an appreciation for each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they know that there are significant enough differences where there simply is not going to be any interaction beyond that of other than getting together for and in February is unfortunately for a family loss. You
Mm.
know, so some of them you can tell that they feel a certain type of way because of that. It's like, but in reality, it's like you can't do anything about it. It's like you're down there in Florida, we're up here. We've got,
And it goes both ways too.
hmm
You know, if because I always it's always funny to me when someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, you don't see me or you don't come and hang out with me." I'm like, you know what, you're right, and I could do better on that, but you also don't do it either. You don't
yeah,
come
yeah,
and see
yeah.
me
It's
either. You
it's
don't go out of
reciprocal.
your way to.
It's reciprocal.
Yeah.
It's because that happens so many times. I was actually coincidentally just talking about this with my parents and my brother and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with desiring to hang out with someone or to be around someone or
Not
whatever.
at all. Not
Cool.
at all. Mm-hmm.
You tell that person, but to your point, it's like, all right, if they haven't made the effort either, cool. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like, all right, scratch it or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
the recognition that not everyone can place their entire efforts on you or prioritize you or even have you at the forefront of their head. Everyone has their own set of ideas, thoughts, and plans that they want to go through and execute on before you. So I always tell people, I tell them the same thing. I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
the phone's always been there.
Yeah, like it's not to create a fight or anything, but it's just it hits me like I'm not coming there and telling you, hey, come and see me more or whatever, because I know you have a life. I know you have a
Mm-hmm.
different your own goals, your own things that you have to do. So when I get to see you, I'm just appreciative that
Mm-hmm.
I get to see you and
Mm-hmm.
I'm spending time with you. I'm not worried about the fact that I haven't seen you or you should be seeing me more often. If anything, maybe I should be, because the only reason why I don't mention that when I'm with somebody, because I'm like, if I haven't seen you, it's because I haven't made the effort either. So I'm just not gonna mention it. You know what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say?
Yeah, I know
So I'm
what you
like,
mean.
I could be like, hey, we should try to maybe hang out more,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do my part to try to hang out with you more and do things like that. But I feel like the wrong way to approach it, which again goes to me going back to what we were saying, just thinking before you're speaking, right? Um, yeah, just being careful with how you say things.
But yeah, you always have to be. I always tell people careful with your words,
Mm-hmm.
um, with anyone, with yourself, how you talk to yourself, but
Yeah.
especially with other people, because if you're not clear and concise with your message, or it's misinterpreted,
Yeah.
or it's convoluted in some way or form, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you might make a situation a little worse, or you might make the situation go in a different direction. So in
Yeah.
that example, that's a great example. Oh, instead of that person saying, well, you haven't reached out or we haven't hung out or whatever, they should have thought how that could potentially make that other person feel, or how that person would interpret it. That would
Yeah.
be the way you should think about things.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time people aren't.
Yeah.
They're just going straight from feeling to
Mm-hmm.
like mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never process things and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's
I-
why
if-
communication. Oof.
Yeah, if we all as human in general, if we all had that thought process, I think it would be a lot easier to get through with life in general, right? There's still gonna be things that happen and everything, disagreements, stuff
Yeah,
like that, right? But I think if you're more cautious, it's so much easier to move on with life.
Cautious and direct. I mean,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with. So, if I were that person, I really felt that I needed to mention, for example, oh, we haven't hung out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mention it, and then you mention it. You want to change. I know it's because we're both busy. We haven't hung out.
Yeah.
No, let's change that.
Yeah.
That sounds way better than we haven't hung out.
Or you haven't, well, because
Or
I
you
don't
haven't- or
mind
you
that.
haven't-
I just don't, I mind the
Or you
part
haven't
where it's like,
reached out.
oh, you haven't, or where you've been, or you haven't come and seen me. I'm
When
like,
when people ask me that, where you been? I'm like home.
I've been busy. I've been working. I've
No,
been
I just
doing
tell
my
them home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know where to, you know how and where to reach me. It's
Yeah.
not like that's not foreign to anyone that knows me. Anyone
Yeah.
that knows me, it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to reach me. Now, if you don't want to, or it slips your mind, that's fine. Just know that it slips my mind as well to reach out to you, because everyone has responsibilities, things they have to tend to, different priorities, different projects, different avenues they want to pursue, et cetera,
Mhm.
et cetera.
Yeah.
That's just life,
Yeah.
you know. So, yeah.
And in last podcast, it was kind of like a New Year celebration, or not celebration, but just kind of like a New Year podcast. We spoke about like events that happen and things like that. In today's podcast, I wanted to talk about, I guess, moving on into like dreams and goals is what I wanted to mention. Just because, again, you know, there's resolutions and there's goals and whatever you want to call it, things that you have in mind that you want to be able to reach. And I thought it would be fun to kind of see what are those things that would be cool for us to reach, right? Or in some of that term. So
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you first a fun, like kind of fun questions. What would be your dream house?
I don't know. That's a
What do you
That's the
what
wor-
what do you see?
that's one of the worst questions to ask, because it's like I can see myself
Are you telling me that I asked you a bad question?
probably.
Am I a bad interviewer right now?
Yeah.
That's
pretty much.
messed up.
Let's call Oprah, see if she'll do any better. Imagine she does appear. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Oprah. Anyway, I don't know. It's like I can see myself with a house somewhere a little farther away from like urbanized areas or whatnot. But I could also see myself still close to an urbanized area. That's where it gets like hairy for me.
So that's why you say, okay. So
So it's like
but you don't have.
but
dream-
I could do a cabin in the woods, or I could do like a 4 or 5 room house or something like that. Each and every room with a different, I don't know, something.
Okay,
get
so
what
if
I'm
you could
saying?
have both, because I'm not talking about dream house. It
Mhm.
could be multiple houses, right? So,
Okay.
what is your optimal way of living in a house, like in multiple properties that you want to know? What is it that
Probably
you
like
want?
multiple.
Okay.
It would if the flavor would switch very quickly
Okay.
based on what I want to do.
All right. So what is one of them?
One flavor would be like, I guess in an urban area, not too urban, because I would probably jump out a window.
Mm-hmm.
So just an urban area, maybe just a 2-family house, maybe a condo, something like that, something along those lines. That way, it's not like too far away from civilization, infrastructure, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice. And then the other end of the spectrum would be a big. It doesn't even have to be a big house. It'll be a semi-decent big house or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
out somewhere, I don't know where, with woods and land around. Who knows? Maybe some chickens. Who freaking knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
I'll name my chickens, and then once they die, I'll just have a funeral for each. Something
You're
stupid.
gonna have funeral for your chickens, Chris?
Well, it depends. If they get killed by other wild animals, I mean, I can't really have a. But they can.
Yeah, they live their life. Now you went to
Their best
get
chicken
their
life.
eggs, and
Yeah,
you
their best
notice
chicken
that they're
life.
gone. You're gonna have a little
I'm gonna have
funeral for
another
them.
chicken. Yeah. Funeral before having another chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'll just eat it. I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
'Cause if it's old enough, it's not laying eggs. You
Yeah.
might as well just eat a chicken.
Can you eat a chicken once it dies? Or like I'm saying, like
No, you gotta kill it.
I'm saying,
No,
if
no,
you
no,
could,
no.
it's
You
gonna-
wouldn't know. No, you wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have to kill it.
Right. That's what I meant. Like,
Yeah,
this
can
is
you
sounding
eat a
stupid. I'm like,
chicken
because you have to
after it
kill dirt.
dies?
I'm saying if it dies from natural causes, I'm saying.
I mean, I wouldn't advise it. What if the chicken died from like blood poisoning or
That's
something
what I'm
like
saying
that?
though.
It's
I'm like I don't know what the how that
I'm
works.
pretty sure you have to
You have to
actually
kill it.
Yeah, you have to actually kill it
to be able to eat it.
to be able to eat it. Yeah, and you can't just kill it in like a weird way. You have to kill it in certain ways. I mean, you've seen your grandmother kill chickens.
My great grandma
Great grandmother
used to grab she grabbed the
That
chicken by the
sounds
neck
stupid. Every
It
single
was
time
very
you describe
inhumane.
it.
and rang that thing.
She cranked it
Cranked it, and then
until
hung
the
it,
sound stopped.
cut the head off. The blood would rush
She would-
down.
yeah,
Whatever.
she would-
Start taking the
feathers off.
Feathers off.
Boil the water.
Boil the water,
To get the
yeah.
feathers off.
You know the whole process. But it was I used to love when it's very little memories of me because my great grandma died when I was young, but I do remember like going to her house and going to feed the chickens, and it was fun. I would love to actually have a house and have like a
I
little
want
farm.
chickens.
Yeah,
I want chick. I honestly want chickens.
I would love horses.
Damn, that's a whole different ballpark.
That's like-
horses are like. Well, first of all, they're huge. If you
Mhm.
stand next to a horse, at least me, is my little petite self.
Mm-hmm.
I stand next to a horse. I'm like, wow, this majestic animal.
Yeah,
Second, I'm pretty sure they eat a shit ton, and third, I'm pretty sure they shit a shit ton.
I
So
know. I know. You gotta have
so
a big place.
you have to have a big horse
Big
stable or
land.
whatever land
Yeah.
for them to run around. I just want chickens.
Hmm.
Chickens.
I think it would be
fun.
fun. I think it would be sad when they died, but it comes with anything, dogs and everything like that. But I think it would be fun to have like a little farm
Little
and
farm,
go
just
take care
small.
of your every morning. Wake up, take care of your animals.
Yeah, it doesn't
and-
have to be anything crazy. Like I'm not looking to be on a tractor for 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I don't know
just
about
wanna,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something small, like something sustainable, something that could be like this is my stuff.
But
and
although I'm
whatnot.
thinking about that right now, and that sounds so peaceful, to wake up, you have your business, right? You have your residual income that's coming in, and you wake up every morning.
Mhm.
You go and feed your chickens. You go and I don't know, brush your horses. You do whatever it is that you have to do. I don't know how to take care of a horse, so
You
I
brush
don't
your
know.
horse.
you
That's
brush.
it.
You brush.
You don't need
them.
anything else.
You take the things that I've seen the TikToks when they are taking those things off of what is it, the hoofs, right?
Yeah.
And they're
the horseshoes
cleaning
and
it
stuff.
out, and the horseshoe. It always, every time that I see that, it looks painful, but obviously it's not. They know what they're doing, but it looks painful. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's almost like nail. I always tell people when they put that thing under the horseshoe, it looks like it hurts because it's pretty much like their nail. It's tough
Mhm.
material, grows out of them. That's why they got to
Mm.
shave it down
Yeah.
and do all this stuff. And I've seen it, and yes, it does. Look
Bro, it looks painful,
When
but-
they break that razor or that thing that cuts it, and
It's
they're
just
just
like
like,
cutting.
yeah, and I'm just like, it almost looks like they're chopping wood. It's
But
very
once they're
weird.
done compared to
It's
what it
beautiful,
was, bro,
yeah.
I'm like, oh,
It's
that
beautiful,
horse is in
dude.
heaven now.
Yeah, polished. It's almost like a pedicure for freaking horses.
Like, I wonder how different it feels for them once they're walking and they don't have all that gunk and everything down there. I wonder if they actually feel that difference. They have to, right?
I mean, I feel a difference with shoes and without shoes. Imagine, imagine.
But that's
them.
like a hard surface for them, right? That it's almost like, I don't know. I just don't know what they feel down there. So I wonder like how big of a difference it is for them. But I'm sure it is.
It has to be. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be.
And so I asked you about the terrible question about your dream house.
That's not a terrible question. I mean, that's it. It's just
No, you said it was a terrible
No.
question. It was recorded, Chris.
whoops.
But for me, a dream house for me, I think, okay. Dream would be a nice, decent sized house with at least, I would say 3 to
Ooh.
4 bedrooms.
Imagine
3 to 4
pools.
bedrooms. I would love for each bedroom to have its own separate bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Damn.
This is a dream, okay?
Oh,
all right.
okay.
This is obviously like a lot, but this is a dream, all right?
Of course.
I would love to have a nice, beautiful, big kitchen. This is more for my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But
Island,
it's part. You know, the dream is to make me happy and make my wife happy. So
happy wife,
a
happy life.
beautiful. Yeah, we have to have an island because she wants a beautiful island. I wouldn't mind one too
And it
because
needs to be the biggest island. It needs to seat
big
8.
island with the seating as well. Yeah, I do like that
Seat
style.
8.
And
Minimum.
a nice basement. I would love a pool in the backyard. Um, and a nice 2-car garage.
2-car. Okay.
2-car garage in a big what is
Driveway.
that? Driveway. Yeah.
You want like a
big driveway.
mile long driveway, or you
No,
want
not
like a,
necessarily, but at least that we could fit maybe like you could fit the cars in the garage, and you could put maybe another 4 cars in the
yeah,
in
that's
the
not
driveway.
bad. That would
Yeah.
that wouldn't be bad.
That's my
6
dream.
cars in
But I
total.
will also love to have a second house, just like you, and but like a beautiful,
Like a high rise
in New York.
New York, yeah.
Oh my God! Just wake up every morning with the beautiful view of the city.
Wake up, you look, it's like, oh,
Because
look at all these little people.
Brielle and I love this city. Brielle and I try to go to the city at least like once a month. We love it, bro. We could spend hours in the city, and it's just so many restaurants. I love eating.
Yeah, that's
so
eating.
yeah, we
New
go
York,
over
they go
there,
together.
bro. Oh my God, it's so fun. I love it. I love the city so much.
You could try it. Like the thing about New York, and the most enticing thing about New York, and even I say this, is you can walk down one block and have potentially 10 different types of cuisine,
Mm.
right? And it's
Mhm.
literally
Yeah,
all
that's true.
10 different types of cuisine, and sometimes they're all freaking good,
Mhm.
depending on where you are. Like if you're in the Hell's Kitchen area, and they're notorious for that. Some of these places are open, some of these places closed, but there's some places that remain open for a while.
Yeah.
And if they're open for a while, it's because they're likely good,
Mm.
you know. And if in Hell's Kitchen, it's not uncommon to see like 10 restaurants a block,
Yeah.
all of them completely different.
Mm.
Thai, American,
I
like
know.
I'm like,
I know.
what is this, you know?
I love it, bro. It's the best. I love being in the city. I get why people don't like it, cause it could be stressful. But for me, it's just I love it, man. I
Yeah,
love being there.
yeah.
I
It's
love
like
nightlife too.
then
Um,
like club life, or just out like
no,
on the
I just
city
love
night.
being able to get out of my house and just see that just there's people around and that there's businesses
Like population.
opened and
Okay, okay.
I like because up here and where we are, we're right off of the highway first of all, and you come out and everybody's in their like because we live in an
In their
apartment
car,
complex,
yeah, yeah.
so
Everyone's in their
everybody's
car.
so I don't know. It's just I would love to be able to because sometimes too, I wake up or something or in the middle not in the middle of the night, but maybe like 8 o'clock at night or something like that, and I would just want to go for a walk. But I can't really go for a walk here. I mean, you could go
No,
around the apartment
there's
complex, but it's just like,
yeah, no. There's actually another interesting article slash whatever slash video whatever. I was reading that the current layout of especially suburbia in America is horrible. It's horrific because it doesn't lend itself to it's not walkable, you know. And
yeah.
and there's a documentary on YouTube, many different things that point to, but one of the big ones was a documentary on YouTube of this one guy that decided to move his family to, I think it was Sweden or something like that. I don't know, where their walkability is their walkability score per se. I think there's even a score and everything. Is like high up there. Kids use bicycles to like move around, and kids go to school on their bicycles like they used to. And this
I
and
love that.
yeah.
Man.
So you see that's where I think we should be headed. That's the direction we should be headed.
That's something else too that I would love to have in a house. I would love to the area that I live at, that potentially my kids could ride bikes to school, that I could go for a mile run, and it's just like you see your neighbors and things like that. It's you're not just running in the highway.
The U.S. unfortunately doesn't lend itself to that much, unfortunately. And the way the guy was describing it, and it made complete sense, was, you know, you're here, for example, in the U.S., and this is not uncommon for people to say, and you're in suburbia. You know, you bought this beautiful house, but there's like no sidewalks whatsoever. You can't necessarily ride a bike, and it's safe. It's just not safe.
Yeah.
Right. So what does that lend itself to? Isolation.
Yeah.
Like, it's just just inside confined. And the same with the kids. Kids can't go anywhere without mom and or dad in their van and this and that. So
Mhm.
now kids grow up confined as well. You know, this guy was basically stating that half of, uh, I guess you could say, all the issues that we're having now are because of a lost sense of community, which is true, and that way back when it used to be, you know, a thing here, and we've sold this whole hyper paranoia or hyper paranoid mindset that we can't let our kids go out and walk to school because they're all going to get kidnapped
Yeah.
and things like that. And I'm not stating that bad things don't happen,
Mhm.
right? But here, specifically in the U.S., we've literally put that in people's brains.
And
Remember
it's
the
not good
kids,
to live that way.
and it's not good to live that way. You live extremely paranoid that things are going to happen. Yes, things do happen.
Yeah.
I'm not stating they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, you know, at what cost are we going to sit there and put yourself in a bubble, you know?
Yeah.
So at what cost?
it's like I'm about to put her on blast, but it's like what happened the other day
Oh
where
my God.
I have my
What's
wife. If you come to our door and you knock on our door, my wife will not open the door for you.
I don't blame her.
She
Part
will-
of me doesn't want to open the door either.
She will not open the door. The other day we're all here. Me, Chris, and Brielle are here, and somebody comes and knocks on the door.
No, we're talking extremely.
We're
you forgot
talking
to
loud. Yeah.
preface it.
Yeah.
We're by the entrance.
Yeah,
And we're talking very loud.
very loud.
Like
It was
you
obvious
can,
that
you
we're
can
here.
hear us.
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah,
can physically hear all three of us. There's a clear distinction of voices.
Yep. And immediately, like right after that, there's a knock on the door. Ta ta ta. The guy obviously, whoever was on the door, obviously knows that we're here because he heard us. Brielle goes.
We become silent.
Brielle goes.
all of us.
Quiet, quiet. It's like don't
And
open the door.
I just listen.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah. He's like, don't open the door.
that's
I'm
fine.
like, babe, I gotta see who it is. I'm like, if, I don't know, our neighbor, somebody visiting. I don't
What
know.
did you see when you looked outside though? Like, I wanted to ask you, did you see a hand? Did you see anybody?
No, it's a
or
guy. It's just a guy. I just see his face because we have a peephole. But is that what it's called? The peephole?
Yeah, I guess the
don't know.
little
Yeah.
thingy, whatever.
Yeah. So I looked through it, and it's just like a kid. I don't know, like a tall kid sitting outside. I didn't see what he had in his hands or anything like that. But I'm like, I'm gonna open the door. Brielle runs to the bedroom and waits for me to open the door. It was like a pizza delivery guy knocking on the wrong door. No big deal, but it's freaking hilarious to me.
I love it because it's like you guys are both two, like, at least for me,
Uh-huh.
well, not for me. You guys are almost like two polar opposites of like opposite sides of my brain,
Mm.
right? Because I would be doing the same thing as her.
Yeah.
Like I there are times where someone knocks on the door, I was like, I'm not answering. You can leave whatever you need right on the front
Mhm,
door stuff.
mhm.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
I'm in my
Yeah.
room. I'm good.
Or answer the door with a katana. In your
I don't answer the door with a freaking sword in my hand. Yeah, there's two. I'm literally one or the other, which is sad. It's very, very sad. But I could kind of understand. That's why that day I was just like, whoa, which one do I do? do I run and wait by a window in case, or do I stay by the door and vacuum? I was like,
That's
what do I
so
do?
funny. I don't have
love
that
it.
thought, but like that thought process doesn't like I hear a knock and I don't know what it is. I just don't. I don't have that
It's
thought
because
process.
you weren't raised that way, and then you were
Yeah.
raised in Puerto Rico though too.
That's
so it's like,
true. So I'm like, I hear a knock. I'm gonna go open the door. I don't know. It's
yeah,
not
because
in me to go.
I figure like in Puerto Rico, it's not like that. People very much know each other, try to know each other's neighbor. Like,
yeah, if you get
you
a
know.
knock in your door in Puerto Rico, it's usually somebody that knows you.
yeah, it has to be somebody
Usually,
that
so
knows
like
you.
for me, a knock, it's just like, oh, let me see who's visiting me. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just like that's just like what my thought process is, or maybe an
It's like-
Amazon
it's like-
delivery or something.
It's
I
like,
don't know.
oh, pizza delivery. I was halfway waiting for you to be like, yeah,
I'll take that.
sure. If you want to drop some pizza off, why not?
It looked good though. It looked good.
It smelled good when you opened the door.
Not the obviously I didn't see the pizza, but I'm saying the thing. It was like I forget the box had like a picture of the thing. But you know what's funny now? I was looking at this video the other day where this guy that reviews pizza, he says that if the pizza, if there's like a pizza drawing on the pizza, it's not good pizza. Usually.
Oh, that's his professional opinion.
Yeah, because he reviews pizzas for a living. And
So
he
what
says
does that
that
have to have on it?
nothing. He says that
Just a box,
usually when it's like a plain box, it's the
good
best pizza. Yeah.
because they don't spend money on.
I don't know. It's just I don't know what it is, but that's what he just mentioned. He said that if it doesn't have a
I'm going
picture
to
on
send him 2 pizzas. Can he be on this podcast? Who is this guy?
he's too famous for us.
Who said he's too famous? No
He's
one's
too
too famous here. Joe Rogan. Barack Obama. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump in the podcast.
Oh God, Jesus Christ, take the wheel. If any one of those people come on the podcast,
that would be funny.
Not only would it be funny, I would.
How random would that be?
That would
How
be way too.
random.
First
the
of all,
next podcast we have.
I don't imagine. It's like I don't think they understand that I'm not willing to ever give up this forum for a preset like list of questions.
Oh yeah,
I'm not for that.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that because
No,
at
no,
that
no.
point I become freaking Oprah Winfrey or what's that other?
Well,
the other lady.
It takes away of the reason why we did the podcast in the first place, which is
Yeah.
just to have a conversation,
Exactly.
a genuine conversation, and whatever.
Bring everyone and anyone.
Yeah, we have a few guests
What's his
coming up.
name?
We were supposed to have a guest
The
today, which I'm not going to talk
Chinese
about.
Communist leader. I'm just kidding.
No.
That's what I was looking for. I'm like, who is he?
We were
Sorry.
supposed to have a guest today, and but the guest is coming next week. So next week we'll have a guest. That's pretty cool. But yeah, moving on with I guess the dreams and goals theme. I know this is like it's hard for me sometimes to have certain topics because I know that I think people will find it genuinely interesting just to hear the conversation, but I know that sometimes for you maybe it's not like the best thing to talk about. But what do you think would be your dream salary? It could be, I guess, in terms of, let's put it this way better. What do you think you need to make a year for you to feel like, okay, I think that I can live over this for the rest of my life if I made this every year and be comfortable?
That's always a hard question to ask. That very, very difficult question to answer. I don't know, 250K, $1 million. You see that's it becomes iffy because of how much do you really need? How much do I really need?
Okay, I'll tell you mine. For me, I have goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my goals is to have my close friends and family, especially like my mom, my sister, be completely debt free.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to buy my mom a house.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that, to get to that point where there would be debt free. I don't know how much debt they have, right? So I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
like having them being debt free and also have the financial freedom to just right up front just buy a house. I think that maybe like 500,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm not saying buying a house cash, because that's a different
Yeah,
salary, but I'm
that's-
talking about just being able to have a good down payment and that I can afford to pay for that house for her to live in, have her be debt free,
Mhm.
obviously us be debt free, and I think 500,000 would be a really good
that's-
milestone to hit.
That's a reasonable amount, I think, but taxes.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
That means you're only gonna take like about 250 home, maybe less.
Yeah.
But then, is 250 a year enough? I think it is. If
I think it's
someone-
more than enough.
If someone
yeah.
can't live with 250 a year now, like you got a problem. When I see all these, like, I've seen a bunch of these articles too that there's people on 6-figure salaries, especially within the last year or two that inflation has been so high, where they're like, oh, they're struggling, and I'm like, oh, it must be so hard for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but
Must be so difficult.
yeah, I know. It's freaking ridiculous. Yeah, I
I'm
think
like,
I heard
okay.
what is it that I think Brielle was telling me something like this the other day. Man, I forget, but it was something ridiculous. Like some girl, yeah, like explaining that, oh, she had a tough year that she had where she was only like bringing after her expenses. After her expenses, everything was being paid. She was bringing home $5,000 a month.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you can't
I'm sorry
live
that,
on a wage that's likely probably 10 times higher than the average minimum wage. I mean,
bruh.
I can't stress that point enough when I talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
When some people are like, well, making money and this and that is because rich people and this that. The more you blame yourself, or the more you blame other people, the less you're going to be able to act on what you need to do for yourself.
Okay.
And then I always tell people, it's not necessarily how much money you earn, is how you manage your money.
100%. Yeah.
So and the thing is, I know people like this.
Mm-hmm.
I know people with this, but they refuse to. They're like, oh, it's so difficult, but they refuse to talk about that BMW they have. That's probably leased and they have full coverage on. They refuse to talk about the fact that they're renting in places that are obnoxiously high in rent.
Yeah.
Like rent prices are obnoxious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's all because they refuse to I guess accept reality and the fact that if you want,
Mm-hmm.
you can truly be stable, especially with their types of salaries and whatnot.
Bro, it's great that you mentioned that because I've been talking to you and letting you know that my goals are, because like we spoke about before, I would love to be able to, if the market is right, be able to buy a house by the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Is it doable? 100%. Is it difficult? Yes, because you have to put certain priorities and have a realistic approach, which is, okay, now we got to cut back a little bit on going out. We got to cut back on eating out, certain things, right?
Certain things you would usually do.
But when you start cutting those things out and you start budgeting things out, bro, it's almost scary to see the things that you waste money on. Because I'm like, babe, if we do this, we could save this much by the end of the year. I'm like, we could be good and buy a house potentially by the end of the year, 100% if we do it correctly. So yeah, it's hard to have that mentality of trying to get somewhere, but you have no idea how to get there. You don't know. You have no idea the work that it needs to be done to get there.
Exactly. That's what most people don't see. It's like when I hear those things where it's like, I make XYZ salary or I make 6-figure salary, and I can't make it, this and that. At that point in time, it's not necessarily, I don't think you can't make it, is your sense. This is going to sound very controversial, and I actually don't really care. Your sense of reality is likely warped because you have lived a certain way or a certain lifestyle for a certain amount of time. So a lot of these individuals that I've seen, is either they grew up around wealth, they wanted it, or they simply just never saw the other side of the coin. They've never gone through what I would consider challenging points in time in their lives where they've had to make concessions and had to give up things for certain goals or for certain outcomes. For you to attain something, you must put something equal or greater value in return. Yeah. So if you want let's put an example. If you want like a certification, a professional certification or a professional license, you must put in the work to study. Yeah. You must put in the work to learn the material. And then ultimately, you must be able to reproduce that material, whether it's on a test or in the field. Right. Same with the degree. You go to these classes, you put all these hours. Why am I writing this stupid paper, this English paper on XYZ ABC? Well, there's concessions you have to make in life. If you're trying to do XYZ, you must input or put this as an input. Right. And that's what people don't understand. It's like, especially on the broader end of the salary spectrum, above 6 figures, it's like you don't understand. If you want to accomplish certain things, it's not just going to fall in your lap because of the amount of money that you make. Yeah, yeah. I've noticed. You grow, and the thing here is too, right? You grow up, you make mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes. As long as you're evolving and learning from them, right? But yeah, I have noticed, like, because when I was younger, right, I had a mindset of like, okay, man, if I made this much, oh man, I could see things happening. And then you get to that amount, and you're like, actually, I want more. If I make this much, then I'll be like, okay, good. And then you get to that point, you're like, You become a product of what they call lifestyle inflation.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah, yeah.
all right, I can afford the car,
Mm-hmm.
monthly payment on the car, therefore I can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be farther from the truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
You know.
as long, and then what I've learned from that is that there needs to be two things that need to happen, in my opinion. Yes, you get to that goal that you want in salary, but then you can't expect to that salary to be of an impact in your life if your lifestyle keeps changing
Yeah.
with your salary.
Yeah, it can't. That can't happen.
Yeah, and you need to stay in that mindset of that previous salary that you had and treat this new salary as basically just extra income that you're
Mhm.
putting away. And that's when the benefits start happening. And even with the current salary that you have, if you start thinking about what you're wasting your money on, man, it's
The
a
list.
lot.
The list goes. It can go on. And even me, that I tend to be a lot more frugal. There's like things like a Hulu subscription or like a
Mhm.
Coursera subscription or something like that
Mm-hmm.
that I have, and they revolve every month. They happen every month.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there are months or weeks or whatever that I don't use them.
Yeah.
So that's literally kind of just a little hole in your wallet, and that
Mhm.
happens to everyone
Everyone, yeah.
to different extents. But I've seen people that they don't even know how many subscriptions they have, like how
Mhm.
many actual TV subscriptions they have.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look at it, they have like 5, 6, or 7 or something like that. And then
More,
they
yeah.
they don't understand why is it that they can't hold their head above water in terms of income and this and that. That's because you're being charged $20 a month by like 10 different freaking companies for things you don't use.
Mm.
Like another great one is like the recent fragmentation of all the media companies like Disney Plus and Netflix and all this BS going in different directions. Now everyone wants to have like HBO, Netflix, everything together, Showtime, and well, you're paying, in my opinion, probably more than you would have been paying the cable company for a set of channels.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they get you. They're like, oh, look at this, all this content. But the truth of the matter is, which content are you going to be consuming, and how much time are you going to have to be consuming that content?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, let's say a movie, that's an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you watch 2, then it's like 4.5, 4 hours more of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you're getting into the territory of that's half a workday.
Mm.
You've now spent half a workday worth of your salary
Mm.
sitting down and doing nothing. They say that time is money, money is time. They always say that fun stuff, that couldn't be more true. When I tell people, you have to think about it that way. If you went out to the movies, you're spending time. Let's say you get paid $15 an hour. You go to the movie for 2 hours. That's $30 plus the amount of time that the amount of money you spent on the ticket. So you get paid for 2 hours, $15 an hour, $30. Let's say a ticket costs you $15. That's going to be $45
Mm-hmm.
plus snacks. People spend $15 on snacks. Easy mode.
Oh yeah.
Easy
in
mode.
the movies, easy. Yeah.
Easy mode.
Easy.
So that's
Mhm.
that's $60.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like, well, no, you that's $30 more. No. You're not accounting for the time that you spent sitting down doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, I could be home on the computer doing nothing. Well, the difference is on the computer you could actually do something and learn something,
And you didn't
As
spend
a-
any money.
and you didn't spend any money
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
except for your time. You're spending time on yourself. There's
Yeah.
no greater investment than yourself.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you look at things with that lens and you start assigning a value to your time,
Mm-hmm.
you start telling yourself, holy crap,
Hmm.
I'm wasting all this money, like
Yeah.
time and money doing things,
Yeah, it's a change of perspective. Once
Mhm.
you got that change of perspective, a lot of things change, and you start seeing things happen. So, and that's what I'm trying to do this year too, and accomplish certain goals that I have in mind, and I think it will happen.
Yeah,
Even if it
I'm
doesn't happen
confident.
by the end of the year, it will happen very, very soon. So, I'm very excited about that.
It's like I
get-
told you, it's a step at a time too. It's not like you just snap your fingers and tomorrow. Even if you
Yeah.
don't get a specific goal by a certain time,
Mhm.
if you are keeping a certain set of habits, you're going to get there. And
Mhm.
if those habits are extremely healthy and whatnot, you're going to be better off tomorrow than you are today. Either way.
Yeah, and make little changes. That's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to go. Listen, if it's difficult for you to make a change like that, think about the little changes. Like right now, right? I'm working on hopefully I stay with it, but we'll see. I want to try to read the Bible this year, the whole entire Bible. And I know for me, because I hate reading, I hate it so much. But because I hate reading, I can't sit here and read a whole book of the Bible in one day. I can't. It will fall off really quick. So I have to find methods and ways to do it. So what am I doing? I found a way to read the Bible in 1 year. And it's like basically about, I think it's about like 3 chapters.
Like the average is 3 chapters, right?
No, not chapters. Books and chapters. Yeah, about 3 chapters per book a day, and you'll be able to read it in a year. So I'm hoping I could stick with that. And again, but it takes little changes, you know, to get to those goals.
They're minuscule, like changes to your point that overall amount to the big goal.
Yeah, and eventually, right? There might be a day that I'm like, yeah, you know, that was three chapters was actually pretty easy. Let me read 3 more, and that's when you start seeing the change. And then all of a sudden, I'm reading a whole book in one day. You know,
all of a sudden you're the next pope. God rest his soul. Too soon?
I don't want that.
Too soon?
I don't want that.
Sorry.
I don't want to be.
Sorry to our Catholic listeners.
Wait, the Pope died?
Yeah.
When?
I think it was Saturday the 31st.
Oh, he died recently?
Yeah, he died very recently.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
90-something years old, yeah. I again, I'm not a Catholic. I wouldn't exactly know, but that's why I was like, too soon.
What's the process of that? So once he dies, is there like another person that's like in line to do that?
The church ends up voting. The Vatican somehow has a process. I don't really know what it is. They probably have a bunch of people that get together and nominate a potential candidate.
I love how Chris, every time that he doesn't know anything, he prefaces, I don't actually know, but he usually gives the right answer. I bet you that is the process.
All the fathers of the Vatican get together and vote.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
I wouldn't have known that.
But the only reason why I know is I don't know why.
Because you're Chris.
I know. I'm like, why do I know?
Your brain works that way.
But who knows? Who knows? That might be it. That might be it.
Yeah.
I don't know how soon they're going to choose the next pope, but
I didn't know that. I had no idea that he had passed.
Yeah. There was I think he was having complications the last week of the year.
How old was he? Did you mention
95, 96.
95. Wow, that's a long
he was old.
That was
he was a little old.
That's a good life.
Yeah,
95.
Yeah, it was a good run. You know,
Yeah.
The one right before him was very old as well. I don't know if you remember. The one right before him is the one I grew up kind of seeing around. That was like, okay.
I think I don't know if I remember.
He had like white hair. Well, they all have white hair. Damn it, I can't really describe a pope or one of the previous popes. Whatever.
I think
people's names.
No, but I think I remember this one because I feel like I saw him a lot. But anyway,
I've seen this guy a lot around too. Yeah, it's like so it was surprising to me. I was like, oh yeah, I thought he was so lively and there, you know.
95 though. That's
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's I hope his he doesn't have family, right? Well, I hope.
What do you mean?
He's a pope.
But listen, all right. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm dumb. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know about these things.
I think if I'm not mistaken, they're sworn to celibacy. The same with any father of a particular or a Catholic church.
A pope is not allowed to have kids or a wife.
No.
What?
Yeah. It's if I'm not mistaken, that's it. Any religious head figure in Catholicism, be it a father or be it a nun, are sworn to celibacy.
You see, I don't understand that, bro.
You're like, wait, hold on.
I can't understand that because, okay, do popes have the same Bible that we have?
Yes, but in Catholicism there are certain differences. They're not. I wouldn't say doctrinally they're significant. Remember, most doctrines differ because of their interpretation.
Okay,
of the Bible.
In their Bible, does God call us to reproduce?
Yes. It's when mankind tries to enforce or place some type of legalistic view on what religion or God should be. That's my opinion as to what happened, which is fine. We try as humans, we try to make sense of things.
I get it, but bro, this guy lived 95 years without having sex.
Well, I don't really know. Damn it, Then we're gonna censor this episode. I'm just kidding. Well, I don't really know. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Well, if he followed his vow of celibacy, then no.
I think that's terrible.
Yeah,
Listen.
kinda
Listen. I'm not. Listen,
I think that's horrible,
bro. I think that's terrible, man. Like
yeah.
again, it's no.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to disrespect the religion or anything like that, but it's just like, come on, you got to be also. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
That's
I'm trying
how it
not
is.
to like get us canceled by my sixth
No,
episode,
listen,
but
we're canceled already. It's like,
but
I already
I'm
told
just
you.
saying, it's like I feel like that's the problem. I think I have with a lot of things that are mentioned in the Bible, that I feel like man decide to create these rules that are basically just first of all almost impossible to follow. By the way,
Yeah,
like, when you
hormones are a thing.
think about hormones. Think about, especially being a man,
Hormones, your mind's a thing.
your testosterone and all, bro. Like
I don't know.
and
I
then
don't know. God
so
bless
so
him,
so
because
so if they're not allowed to have sex, they're not allowed to jerk off either.
if I'm not mistaken, no, they're not allowed to masturbate either.
And okay, and then
Even though in Christianity,
I
that's
wanna
a sin as
know-
well, technically.
scientifically,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what happens if you never jerk off.
I think you.
If you never have a release,
I-
where
I
does
d-
it, where
I
does it come
don't-
out?
You have nocturnal emissions. You know, when you're little and you start puberty, most guys, not all guys,
Uh-huh.
have a night where they have a nocturnal emission. where
I
they-
never had
where-
that.
Yeah, they literally, for lack of a better term,
Like the wet dream.
They're wet dream.
Mhm.
They basically pee and they ejaculate in their pants, and that's kind of what happens when everything is bottled up.
So
in
you
nature.
think that popes are just having wet dreams left and right?
I th- Where has this episode gone? Are they? How many are they having?
Bro,
No, I'm just
they
kidding.
gotta be
I don't
having.
think- that's a very interesting question, because if they're not, and
Yeah, right.
maybe that's why they were white. Let me stop. This just took a turn for the worse.
Oh my god, but bro, I'm so curious.
I am curious as well. I'm not gonna lie. I'm curious as well, because it's like, okay, we get it. Like if you don't release nocturnal emissions,
Yeah,
so then do they? I mean, I guess if they're following that, then yeah, they have to be,
bro.
and it must be part of normal kind of thing for them. If all of them or if one of them follow, honestly, kudos.
Yeah,
and
we're
props,
thinking-
because that's hard. That's freaking hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
This
Like,
is obviously us assuming that they're following this. With,
I don't doubt
yeah.
that there was someone that has.
I don't doubt it either. I'm just thinking of what the heck was happening with their body the whole time.
And it's not honestly, it's not the only religion that speaks towards celibacy.
Yeah,
Like,
and I'm sorry before, because I'm
no,
gonna
no,
forget. You
no
know how my
problem.
brain is. Remember what you were gonna say, by the way. Not only God calls us to reproduce, but He doesn't want us to be alone.
Yeah,
He
it
put
states that in the Bible.
A
actually.
woman
Mm-hmm.
on earth
Mm-hmm.
to be with us, because He says that it's not good for man to be alone.
Exactly. So
So-
it's like, by that argument,
Bro,
the
you're
entire-
contradicting everything
Exactly.
that God has basically told you to do.
So now you kind of understand why is it that, especially within the past couple hundred years, maybe 100 and so out of years, there's been a movement more towards a charismatic approach towards religion.
Mm-hmm,
You know, the Assemblies of God, Pentecostal, and
Yeah.
certain other churches that don't exactly have all these types of structures and legal kind of view on how, or hierarchical kind of view on how the church should be.
Yeah.
Because to begin with, like you said, it's not good for mankind to be alone. So why should the head of a church, or the head of churches, be alone?
Yeah, a person that is always basically being looked up to. How can you also, another thing, right? A lot of these people that look up to this man, right, as a figure that they could trust in and rely on, how can you rely and trust on someone that hasn't gone through the same experiences that you have gone?
That's another side of the argument. Well, not all pastors are obviously going to have the same experiences as the rest of the people, but generally speaking, to your point, if a pastor or the head of a congregation or the head of a church, if they have their family their own fair share of issues,
Mm-hmm.
they're likely a little more prepared to talk and understand about what may or may not be going on in someone else's family.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing,
And
right?
help others navigate through whatever is going on, because
Yeah.
that's life.
If
Life's
I'm
confusing.
going to buy a house and I'm gonna go and talk to, I don't know, a broker
Yeah,
or something,
the real estate
I
agent,
want
yeah,
that broker or real estate agent to have experience, right? I don't
within
want
the
just to
market.
go a random person that has no.
Mhm.
So again, I'm. This is no disrespect to anything. It's just trying to put that type of perspective into. It's just a wild. It's kind of just
Wild.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
wild.
like I was saying before. It's not the only religion that states that. So, for
Yeah, yeah.
example, there's practices in Buddhism and Islam and things like that that do call for celibacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why the stereotype of a Buddhist monk or something like that is some of it is true, depending on where you go and the different practices and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There are individuals that uh, do a couple of things. One of those is a vow of celibacy.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is extended fasting. A lot of religions have that. So it's like the commonalities across, to see all those in common, including Catholicism, is always interesting.
Mm.
Something about maybe remaining celibate and being able to not let that, or not let those aspects or sexual aspects of you control you, might actually help within spirituality, question mark. I don't know. And that's where a lot of people say it's like, well, maybe that is a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
for whoever's in the church or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, right? This man that lived his life,
Mm-hmm.
um, giving everything to God.
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt that he'll get into heaven. I mean, I mean, this is from what he's living, right? I'm not,
Yeah,
because I'm
from
not here to judge.
of course.
Nobody knows who's going to heaven and who's going to hell. Nobody knows but God, right? Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like he could have possibly still lived a life where certain things could have been done and still be able to get to where he's trying to
Mm-hmm.
get to. And I really believe in that because for me, growing up, I had a lot of things that I thought that could potentially send me to hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, I have a total different perspective. My relationship with God hasn't changed at
Mm-hmm.
all. Um, but do I do things differently? Absolutely. Do I think that I'm going to go to hell for them? No. That's just my perspective. Um,
Yeah, and then for them in Catholicism, it's very different.
mm-hmm,
So maybe for him, it was important to submit to that type of authority and rules
mm-hmm.
as proof to himself that he could have this type of disciplined relationship with God.
Yeah. And I
So
don't
it's like,
blame it. Listen,
no, I don't blame him
he
either. I'm
he
not
had
saying,
this
yeah,
goal. He
yeah.
did it. Great. Good for you.
Do you
I
think he
wouldn't
knew
be
he was
able
going to be a
to.
pope one day?
Huh?
Do you think he knew he was going to be a pope one day? Like, I sometimes ask myself, especially people of that like caliber, or that type of, the whole world knows your name, right?
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily because I don't know how these if this is like
This is like the highest. It's almost like being the president of the U.S. but for the church. It's a
yeah.
big ass deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was in his dreams. Maybe, right? I'm sure that there's kids that grow up and look up to these the popes and
Mhm.
everything, and they look at him as these only role models that they wish to become and
Mhm.
eventually. But I don't know. I guess we would have to ask one of them and see
It's
what
like,
the
I'm there and they're there at the gates, and I'm like, oh, I remember you. You
Mm.
died on New Year's. I'm horrible.
No,
I am horrible.
but I guess to kind of close it all off in going into there were some other things too that I wanted to ask, but I don't think they're really that important. I guess we'll close off with an advice. What is your advice to someone that has certain dreams and certain goals? What is your advice to try to get them to reach those dreams and goals?
Um, If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I'm not saying have a list. I'm not saying be the most organized person on the planet. I'm not saying make a Word document, an Excel sheet, or whatever. Everybody's different. God knows I'm disorganized as hell. But I don't tend to enter things without a viable plan. And that viable plan is plan A, plan B, plan C. You know, what if this happens? What if that happens? So continuously, my advice would be that to continuously think about moving parts in the future. So have a plan. And then the other half of it, which is just as important, there's things in between, but these two things, plan and execute. It's not as hard as you think.
Yeah.
The more you think about how difficult it's going to be, the more you're just going to place yourself in a state of like analysis paralysis. Like, what do I got to do? What if nothing? It's like, all right, like just make a plan, throw it together. What did you fail at? What did you not fail at? What can you do better? You know, and then execute again. I'll give you a great example with this stuff, the podcast. 2 podcasts ago, or whatever the case may be, no sound. Well, now that's not going to happen again. You have to learn as you go along. And you can't learn unless you execute on a plan that you have.
Right.
That's my advice.
I love that. I do love that. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that it's important to have a backup plan to your backup plan to your backup plan to your backup plan. And also just start somewhere, right? Like if you have a goal and you need these 100 things to be able to reach that goal, start at number 1. Start with that one, because if you don't start, it's not gonna happen, right? So just start little.
Start little. That's a great one too. Start little. You don't need state-of-the-art equipment to do anything. Let's say you want to do photography. You don't need a state-of-the-art camera.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to start a podcast. You don't need a state-of-the-art camera or video camera or anything like that.
Yeah, my goal, right, to do this podcast, I think it was unrealistic. I wanted to have a freaking beautiful set. I wanted to have, you know, the best equipment and everything. Which, by the way, we have great equipment, but I'm just talking about, like, we're recording with my iPhone.
Pretty much.
We have equipment that is not expensive equipment, but it gets the job done.
It's not low tier.
It's not low tier.
But it's not like you said, those dreams.
Yeah.
It's not there
because it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. It's
there
is no studio. Right now.
Yeah.
So
so just start somewhere. Make sure you have backup plans to your backup plans, and things are gonna start happening. Trust me. And that's what I hope for me, and that's what I hope for you. And excited for the next podcast. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Chris, again for sitting with me and having a conversation. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Happy 2023. I almost said 22.
Deuces.
Bye.